Welcome to the second chapter of our ZW3D training series. In this video, we'll dive into the sketching module, a fundamental part of any design process. The goal of this chapter is to introduce you to the commonly used sketch commands in ZW3D. Meanwhile, show you the key differences between ZW3D and SolidWorks in this module. And in the end of the video, I will share some useful tips to make your sketching experience smoother and more efficient. Without further ado, let's get started by creating a new sketch. As you can see, the sketching interface includes a wide range of commands. However, in this video, we won't go through each one in detail. Instead, we will focus on explaining the key differences between ZW3D and SolidWorks in the sketching module. The first command I'm going to show you is draw, which is equivalent as SolidWorks line. It can draw both line and circles. The only difference is the way to switch between line and circle. In ZW3D, you can click on endpoint to switch, and we click again to switch back to circle. Okay, it's done. The others are quite the same. The second command I'm going to show you is offset, which is similar as offset entities in SolidWorks. It can offset the entities in the sketch, or it can offset the entities took from the existing shape. And the only difference is you can add fillets to the hard corner in ZW3D here. This is a little advantage comparing to SolidWorks. And the third command I'm going to show you is the fillet. You may notice in ZW3D we have two fillet commands, fillet and the fillet chain. And for fillet, it can only make fillet for one corner. And for fillet chain, it can do multi-fillets. So in this case, we can click on the fillet chain and press Shift to select 4 edges, and then add the radius. Now it's done. And then next, I'm going to show you the trim command. Here you can see we have multi-trim commands inside ZW3D. But here I'll just show you 3 of them, 3 most frequently used commands. The first one is power trim. We can draw some sketch. Okay. For power trim, it's very easy to understand. Everything will be trimmed when the cursor across it, like this. In SolidWorks, it's also called power trim, so it's very easy to understand. The second one is trim and extend. We will draw something to test this command. Okay, we call out the trim and extend command. You can select more than one curves, and then select the entities. Now it will trim to the entity. It's similar as extend entities in SolidWorks, but more than that, because you can do both trim and extend in one command. The third command I'm going to show you is trim extend to the corner. It's similar as the last one, but a little different. You can draw something for testing. Okay, now we have an open ring. And if we use the trim extend to corner command, you can see what will happen. You can see it will extend and trim the entities to form a corner, which is very convenient. Next, I'm going to show you the dimensions and the constraints. Dimensions is very easy to understand. We have multi-dimension commands, but you have to remember one is enough. It's quick dimension. it can dimension the line and also the circles and also to make the angular dimension. In SolidWorks, it's called Smart Dimension. It's the same. Now let me show you. It can add dimensions to the line, and also it can add dimensions to the angle. This time we call out from the right menu. Sorry. 45 degree. Okay, it's done. So for this command, it can cover almost 90% scenarios. And then next, I'm going to show you the constraints. For constraints, you can either code command from the ribbon area, and also you can code command by control. For example, we delete this dimension, and we press Control, and select both lines in sequence. And here you can see it will pop up the most possible constraints between these two lines. You can choose perpendicular. I can say it will be a 90-degree angle. And if we have a circle here, and if we select two entities again, you can see it will less relationship preferred. Here we can choose tangent. And even you can select three entities for constraints. For example, here we draw a construction line first. And then we draw a rectangle. You can turn the rectangle into solid. Okay, here you can pay attention how I do the constraints. I select 1, 1, 2, 3, then I select symmetric. Okay, that's basically all about the dimension and the constraints. Now we will delete all the useless sketches. And the next command I'm going to show you is reference. In SolidWorks, it's called convert entities. It's the same. It can convert the entities from the existing shape. For example, this time we convert an arc. And by default, it's construction geometry. If you want to make it solid, you can uncheck. Now it will be a solid line. And all the referenced entities will be listed in the manager. You can delete it or you can replace it. And also, you can select like a face to convert all the closed rings. And the last command I'm going to show you is overlap. So sometimes we have some overlap areas in our sketch. For example, if you copy the geometry from a DWG or DXF, sometimes there are some overlap entities. If you check manually by your eyes, it's very difficult. But with this command, it will be very easy. Now we draw something first. Okay, and we draw some lines. Now it's overlapped, but by our eyes, we cannot recognize where it's overlapped. So with this command, it will be much easier. You can see the overlapped lines will be highlighted in red. And all we have to do is just select it and delete. Now it's done. It's a closed ring again. This command is very practical when checking the overlap areas. Okay, by now, for the commands in the ribbon area, I almost introduced all of them that's different with SolidWorks. And then next, I'll introduce some commands in the DA toolbar here. And the first one is snap filter. So sometimes you will find when you draw something, it will automatically snap some constraints. Sometimes it can be annoying because we don't want the constraints. So for this command, it can solve this problem. For example, here I unchecked vertical, horizontal, and the point on curve. Now if I draw again, you can see it will not snap the constraints we don't want. And another way is we can use the shift in the keyboard. For example, here we draw again, and you can see by default it will snap some constraints we don't want. In this case, we can press shift. Now you can see it will snap nothing. So it's another way to avoid the unnecessary constraints. And secondly, I'm going to show you the planar view. So sometimes we accidentally rotate the sketch. So it's not convenient for us to draw, to design. We can use the plane view to make it go back. And also remember, in the last chapter, I showed you one very important shortcut key. It's F9 to align the nearest planar face. It also can do the same. And then next, I'm going to show you the show target command. Sometimes we don't want to take anything from the existing shape, and we think it's not so clean for our sketch. In this case, we can use the show target, so it will hide the unnecessary back shapes and only show the sketch we are working with. And the next is the two switchers to switch the dimension on or off, or to switch the constraints on or off. Very easy to understand. And then next is the constraints belt. Here you can check whether your sketch is well defined or underdefined. And here actually I'm going to show you another tip. Is in the tools. You can change the constraint color. You can see actually I already made the adjustment. I already changed the color the same as SolidWorks. For underdefined is blue color. For well-defined is black, just like SolidWorks. And another one is to show the XY axis. Here you can see it will automatically create X and Y axis. So it can be used for reference, for dimensions, and also for constraints. And the last one I'm going to show you is construction line switcher. Sometimes we want to draw some construction line. We can turn it on, and then when we draw something, it will be all in construction line. And actually for me, I already made a shortcut key. You can see it's switch off, switch on, switch off. And then I can start for the solid lines. And after that, actually you can also turn them into the opposite way. For example, for construction line, you can use the right menu to turn it into the solid line. For the solid line, you can do the opposite way. Alright, after the interface and the commands introduction, next I'm going to show you some key configurations for Sketch. The first one is we call out the configuration and we go to the 2D. And here the first one is to display the default XY axis. And here you can see when we create new sketch, the XY axis will be here. You don't have to turn on, turn off again in the DA toolbar. That's the first. The second one is scale sketch entities when modified sole dimensions. You can see by default it's unchecked. Let's see what will happen. So in mechanical design, we always have to do some like shafts design. For example, here we draw something like this. Okay. And now if we want to add the dimensions, for example, now it's 100. Now you can see what will happen. The other dimensions will be changed according to the real dimension of this line. That's not the way we want. So we go back and we check on this option. And we try again. Okay, this time we do the same, and we change it to a very big value, for example, 200. Okay, now you can see what will happen. It will actually scale the other entities. In this way, it will reduce us so much time to adjust the sketch. And the third one is to add weak dimensions automatically. So let's see what will happen. You can see it will add weak dimensions automatically. Weak dimension means the dimension is not fixed. You can see I can easily drag, and the dimension will change accordingly. So to turn the weak dimension into strong dimension, all we have to do is to double click, modify it, or just confirm the current value. Then it will be a strong dimension, and then you cannot change. The weak dimension can be very useful when you don't want to add the dimensions one by one. Just want to modify the dimension. It will be quicker. But it also depends on your real design scenarios. Sometimes too much weak dimensions may influence the clearness of the sketch. So use it or not, it totally depends on you. And the last configuration I'm going to show you is hide the used sketch. This time we go to display. And you can see by default it's unchecked, which means now I'm going to show you. We have a part and we draw a sketch and we draw a rectangle and we do the extrusion. You can see after extrude, actually the sketch is not hide automatically. So when you have a lot of sketches, it may affect your design. So we can check this option to make it auto hide. Check hide used sketch. And we do it again. Sketch. Rectangle. Go back. Extrude. In this case, it will be hidden automatically. In the end of the video, I'm gonna show you two tips to accelerate your design. The first one is the internal sketch and the external sketch. So for SolidWorks user, some of them might use extrude first, and then select the plane and draw the sketch. For example, this time we also draw a rectangle. Go back and OK. Now you can see the sketch is folded under the extrude base. So if you want to reuse it again, for example, here we use extrude and we want to reuse it. Actually, it's not possible because it's exclusive. It's only belong to the extrude one base. So if you want to reuse it, you can right click on it and make external. Now it's ready for reuse. Okay, that's the small tip number one. The second tip I'm going to show you is sketch block, which can greatly accelerate your design. So first, we also make a sketch. And I will show you the final effect when you have your sketch block library. Insert. And here you can see I have a sketch dedicated for the block storage. And I have 3 blocks here. This time I will insert the logo for ZWSoft. Okay, and then we can go back. Then I can extrude the logo. Okay, now I have my logo in the plate. And next, I'm going to show you how to make your own block. We go back and we select, create another sketch. Okay, for example, this time we draw some simple things. One rectangle and one circle. Now we are going to make this as one block. So we have to do is very simple. We just window pick all of the entities and right click. There's a little command called make block, and we give it a name. For example, special plate. And then we define the insertion point. We choose the center point of the circle, and we can even give some descriptions, but this time we just skip it. Okay, now this block has been stored into our Z3PRT file. Okay, and then we can create another sketch. And we try to insert the block we just made. Insert. Actually, you can see we have to save this part before we insert the block. Okay, done, and we do it again. Insert the block. Okay, now you can see we have a special plate we can insert directly. And then we can directly go back to the 3D environment and do the solid making, for example, extrude. Now you can see it's very easy. We don't have to redraw the same sketch once again. And what we can do is more than that. In fact, we can do further. We can make this block as a ready sketch. We also right-click, save to ready sketch. Now you can see we can find it here. Insert ready sketch. Special plate. We can insert, or we can insert in different file. Insert customer ready sketch. Finish. And this ready sketch will be stored under the installation folder. You can actually share it with your colleagues to accelerate the teamwork. Okay, that's the 2 tips I've shared with you. Hope it can accelerate your design. Thank you and hope to see you in the next chapter.